Hi, I'm Michael Sullivant, and I'm here with the Reverend Kitty Wilder, and we are doing Wilder Chats. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Michael.
And we are going to be talking about a favorite subject of yours,
Hmm.
the stages of maturity and
Yeah.
understanding the stages of maturity
Yeah.
for human beings.
Hmm.
So, Kitty, tell us a little bit about the background of this material. And your husband, Jim, wrote a book, I know, Living with Men. I think maybe that's where it started, but fill us in. How did all this get started?
Well, in looking at the stages of maturity, one needs to be able to see what it is that we need to fill in from our childhood. And so he was trying to figure out, what the needs and tasks are. And as he looked at cultures across the world and across through scripture, the main stages all seem to be consistent with of course, the preborn, which we don't really cover too much of that in this. But the infant stage, which is the age of 1 to 4 years old, that was typically the age when they were starting to be weaned and kind of welcomed into the community of men, going from their mothers to their fathers. Then the child stage maturity, which is from ages 4 then till 12, and then the young adult is from stage 13 on up till you have children. Now, here in America, we had the stages of adolescence, but that's not the culturally, the same around the world or even biblically. And the adolescence was kind of brought about because of the stage of the Industrial Revolution. And so it was a created stage that is a difficult one because there's a lot of vibrant youth that is not being used and utilized well.
Right.
And so we will probably talk more about that when we get to the adult stage. So then once you get to the parent stage, then it's when you have your first child, or when as for singles can be in a parent stage too, as they are parenting and kind of helping to guide boys clubs, girls clubs, nieces, nephews, just being another adult in kids' lives. They can do some of their parenting skills there. And then going into the elder stage of maturity, then you enter that when your youngest is just entering adulthood at the age of 13. So that seemed to be very common in all the cultures around the world, as well as the Bible.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about how you have seen people benefit from understanding this framework. What difference has it made in their lives?
Well, when we take the time to look through the different stages and see I'm really missing that. I didn't get that as a child, and being able to look at what we need to fill in the gaps, then we get more of a sense of pleased also with where we are, being able to do hard things. There's a lot of adults that don't want to, they're in adult bodies, but they're not at adult maturity where they need to know how to do hard things. Being able to hold down a job, doing a job that you don't necessarily like, but you need to be able to provide income. So there's different stages like that it's helpful for you to be able to know, I should have learned that, but I didn't. I really have a deficit now. And then there was a survey a number of years ago, and they were testing, I think it was through the Center of Fatherhood in the
Ken
Midwest
Canfield's
someplace.
organization.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were finding that about 75% of men are stuck in the infant stage of maturity, and 75% of women are stuck in the child stage of maturity. And women are in the child stage maturity because majority of more women have done babysitting. So they've had, some experience of being able to take care of somebody else. But a lot of the men that were at infant stage, they were ones that, well, you should know what I need, and, maybe just grunt and you'll bring a beer or a drink or a water or whatever it is. And I know I've seen that in a number of different family relatives. And so it's like, no. And then also, as our community, or our culture likes to sing about, being big people and having all the toys and stuff. And yet there's a lot of misconception about men that want to stay young and childish, and I'm just a kid now, and a lot of wives will say that they have 3 children but maybe 4 because of their husband, and that's not really what society really wants. It's a kind of a bantering, but women and culture really want everyone to be maturing so that they're responsible adults, and being playful is still necessary for our brains. It doesn't mean we can't be playful, but we want to mature and be able to be responsible people and caring for our community.
And of course, God has ordained life, and he's the author of life. He's the master of life. Jesus is called the Prince of Life. And so,
Right.
so maturing is something that God has ordained for humans to experience. And it's a lot of it falls to us to do the work of maturing, and from passing maturity skills down from one generation to the next. But because of the disconnect relationally in our culture, this is one of the reasons why these skills are kind of, falling out of the bottom of things, and why we need to talk about it more.
Right. Yeah, there's so much of the skills that, because we're not living intergenerationally like we used to in communities back, that you would just learn things from your grandmother, and so a lot of those skills like, just household skills of canning food, of preserving, of how to take care of things, those are falling out because there's not the group of women that are getting together and still doing that. So we've really lost an awful lot with the intergenerational communities not sticking together. And along that line too, when we were living intergenerationally, and back, I don't know what year it was, but when they started Sunday school classes, it was very helpful then to be able to have a chance to meet with your own peer group. Now we do everything with our peer groups. And so Sunday school has lost kind of its value in that era. We need to have more activities where we're connected more intergenerationally.
Yeah.
And when our children were very little, there was a church that was doing an intergenerational Sunday school class. And so we joined that because I wanted our kids to be able to see how other adults express their faith. It's different than just than watching mom and dad. And so it was really a fun Sunday school class, and I'd like to see more of those happen.
I read an article not too long ago about how families used to have only one heat source in the home. So during the wintertime, everybody was forced to be together in the same room, and there weren't all the distractions available that now we have. And it feels like we've kind of been buying our privacy from each other, and that's serving to disconnect. We all have our unique ways of getting entertainment and spending our leisure time alone. It's too much in front of screens, things like that. Technology is wonderful, but it has its downsides, and we have to be good stewards of it.
Yes, makes sense. And that sounds so warm and cozy and fuzzy to all be together around one heat source. And now we see, kids, everyone in their own bedroom and trying to gather them all. It's just hard to pull them into the community.
It's like herding cats, as they say.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about as followers of Jesus and people that are practicing the life model. So we say it's good to have an identity group. And is that maybe one of the solutions for filling some of these holes in our maturity? And how have you seen that working?
Well, having our identity group is a very good thing that once we start to get into that adult maturity, we want to be able to, we're more concerned about our group rather than ourselves when we are in the child stage. And when we're in that group identity, that's often where we are finding our spouse, our partner for life. And that's very important there. But we learn a lot of the relational skills and the maturity tasks as they're passed down from those older than us. And so that's where we need to really stay in intergenerational communities. And so often now we are looking at finding additional parents, because one set of parents is often not enough. Having other adult input into our kids' lives is very beneficial. And so being in a larger group like that, where they can see the skills passed on and see how others are handling things.
Yeah, so we need aunts and uncles, even if they're not
Yes.
literal aunts and uncles,
Right.
in
Yes.
our identity group in order to get the kind of, I mean, this doesn't just happen by people talking about it, right? It doesn't. It happens through living some life together and through
Yes.
observation, and a lot of the nonverbal elements of learning take place.
Yes. Yeah. It's been kind of interesting having, I've done a little bit more of taking a granddaughter shopping with me or running around and interacting. And she'll say, well, Grandma, you talk to everybody, are making friends. And so what she's seen from, what her mother does or what her community has done, but she's seeing something different with Grandma. And then I was with a friend and she was saying, well, how long have you been friends, and seeing, I'd like a friend like that. And so it's good for exposing them to those kind of experiences for them to see, yeah, those are beneficial. I don't just want to have my own peer group and only relate to them. It's fun to watch how other people relate.
So we have this maturity assessment on our website that people can download under bonus resources. Go to resources, bonus resources, and you see the maturity evaluation there. And so give us a little hope, like if I go through that and I say, oh my gosh, I'm really missing this, and it's way back in the child stage or the infant stage, give me a little hope of how can I change? How can I grow?
Well, we want to be able to find spiritual mothers, spiritual fathers, others in our community, and just kind of be watching, see, who's handling that well. And we'll go through each of those stages and more clearly discuss each one. And but just being aware of our community around us. And we also want to make sure that, when we realize what stage of maturity we're at, there's no shame in that.
Yes.
It's just that's what our life circumstances have been.
Yeah.
And so we just need to be able to, at the child stage of maturity, asking for what we need, being able to say, I really need to learn this. I didn't get this when I was a child. Can you teach it to me?
Mm-hmm.
Or, and then in the church groups where there's particularly women mentoring younger women or men mentoring younger men, learn an awful lot through those experiences. And yet there's so many older women that think they have nothing to pass on. But they're such a vibrant resource of amazing things of just living life because they've lived life. It's not that they have to have special skills of crocheting, knitting, canning, quilting, or whatever
Right.
those are. Just living life and knowing how to love other people and how to be relational. Those are the valuable skills that we need to pass on to our younger generations.
As we do some of this maturity assessment, I've heard it called Swiss cheese maturity, where you got it down in one area, but all of a sudden you walk into a space and it's like this big hole, like, oh, I didn't get this when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
that
And
can get filled in.
one of the things we want to talk about too is pseudo maturity. So now, like a lot of times when we get to the parenting stage, you may have a child before you've really matured to having all the skills of being a parent. And so when you're having to be a parent but don't have the skills necessary, it's a pseudo maturity because you're not doing it in love. It's just a kind of an obligation. This child is upon you and you have not matured to earn this maturity. Then it's a pseudo maturity. But if you've earned it, then you do it with joy.
Yeah. Well, Kitty, this has been a good first chat for us, an introductory chat to the whole subject of the stages of maturity. And we're going to do some more here in the coming weeks, some
Okay.
chats about this. So,
Sounds good.
yeah, I just want to remind people to go to our website. It's lifemodelworks.org. And we have a new resource there at the bottom right. There's an intro video to the life model that people might enjoy. So I wanted to point that out. Kitty, until next time.
Thank you.
For being with me. It's good to see you. And
Okay. Thanks, Michael. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.